A quick note before we get into the episode. Oversharing is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical podcast and does not constitute medical or psychological advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional. All right, let's do some intentions. Dear Dr. Naomi and Jordana, I've been a huge fan of You Up for years now and finally gave Oversharing a go and have been obsessed. Listening to every old episode has been my soundtrack in the car lately. I'm writing in because I could use your help with an intention. I'm getting married in September. I'm extremely excited. My fiance is everything I could have asked for and nothing I ever expected, all in one. The intention is about my dad. I lost my dad rather suddenly, tragically 10 years ago. A week before the wedding will mark 11 years. I'm not trying to sound dramatic when I say my dad was my person. He understood me in a way no one else has. We were the same person, and the family dynamic has noticeably shifted with it being just me, my mom, and my brother. Even though my dad never met him, I know he would love my fiance. They have a lot of similarities, and I know they would have been thick as thieves if he was still here. I feel relatively at peace with the absence of my dad. Over multiple milestones, they've all been bittersweet, but I've been able to tell myself, Dad would be so mad if missing him ruined the day. However, as my wedding gets closer, I find myself having more and more moments where I can't push past the sadness that he's not there. As much as I love my brother, him walking me down the aisle is not what I always envisioned. I know it's probably inevitable that I will have multiple moments of sadness the week leading up to and the day of my wedding, but I would love if you could help me with an intention to keep in the back of my mind when I'm feeling it in that moment, to push past and remember my dad is still with me. Thanks, you guys, for any help and wisdom. No father of the betch. It's really hard.
Yeah, this probably hit home a little bit for you, I imagine, too.
I think it did for sure with the kids. I feel like there's like a lot of little moments that I didn't feel before they arrived of like, he would enjoy this, or like, it would have been nice to like interact with him in this way. So and we weren't, I felt that way, and me and my dad like weren't that close. So I could feel like with this person, with this listener, it's probably in a whole different level. If she did feel like super close, like they were really, really important in each other's lives, I can only imagine, again, feeling that even in a relationship that sometimes felt maybe more distant than the one she's describing.
And I think what might also be happening is, her dad died a while back. So sometimes it feels like, okay, I've gone through my grief process. And then, like the hardest, like first few years of it are kind of behind me. And then I think what happens is these big, like what you're experiencing, which happened like immediately, like for you, It was, I don't know, weeks almost later. You could feel like, okay, I've grieved. And then you have these big life events, and it's like this huge wave of grief comes back because you're going through that thing, which maybe at one point in your life, either you envisioned going through it with this person, or even maybe you didn't envision it, but you just feel their presence in a different way. Like, I don't want to make you cry, but like, I know that like Charlie kind of looks like your dad, and maybe you didn't expect that. And something like that just happens where you're like, I expected this, or I didn't expect this, or I envisioned it this way, and I did, or I didn't. And then you're just hit with this like unexpected new wave of grief. And I think for this listener, she probably feels like, okay, I don't know the language that she used, but she's like, I've kind of something like I've accepted, or I've been at peace, with, that he's not here. And maybe in theory she's at peace, but I think the idea of getting married and not having her dad there doesn't mean she's not at peace with it, but I think she's getting another wave of grief here that she wasn't really expecting. And so I know what she wants in some respects is to just like not have it ruin her day. And she says, oh, my dad wouldn't want me to ruin my day, and he would want me to enjoy this. But I do think there's a part of what she probably needs to do is recognize that there's a new wave that she wasn't expecting. And maybe it's coming 5 years after the last one, or that she was kind of okay for a while and now she's being hit. And I think she needs to kind of let that happen a little bit more before she says push through. Like she uses the words like push through. Before you can push through, I think you need to like allow this a little bit, maybe allow some tears or, I know you don't want to cry on your wedding day and the wedding day is not here yet. And maybe you probably will cry a little bit on your wedding day or even have a moment of, a little moment of breakdown or you can't, I don't want you to hold too tightly to this idea of like, it's not going to affect you, especially leading up to it.
And I think if she has that mentality, she can feel that and like not have that overtake the whole day. Like she could have it. And like if when she feels it, she like leans into it, then I think she'll be better able to move to like enjoy the happier parts than if the whole day she's like, don't think about this. Don't think about this. Don't think about this.
Yeah. The push through, especially now in like the weeks and months kind of leading up to it to kind of be like, okay, there's a new wave of grief coming. I'm going to just like soften into it. Let the tears come. That is his presence. Like that's another way that I think you can look at this is like when these waves of grief come or like, for you with the babies and you didn't expect maybe to feel this way or like when you look at Charlie and you see his face, like that is, if you are spiritual in any way, and some people would be like, oh, I see a butterfly or I see something that like it's my loved one coming back, like that wave of that pang of grief, like that is also their presence. Like that is your dad showing you like, oh my gosh, you're getting married. I'm here. And he's coming back through that like pang of pain in your chest or your belly or that heartache like that. I know it doesn't feel like you would love his presence to be like a white glowing light that's like emanating from the top of your head, but maybe it is like that heartache. And maybe that is him being like, wow, you're getting married. I'm here with you. And it doesn't feel like pleasant in that moment, but I agree with you that it can kind of turn into that if you like just let the heartache feeling be and let maybe some tears come out or whatever that feeling is that comes from feeling his presence very deeply in grief, that maybe it will kind of morph into something that feels more of like a joyful presence, a light presence. And this can happen. I have lots of patients. This happens with weddings. This happens with babies, like you said, or pregnancies where all of a sudden they didn't, they have a parent or a loved one who died many years ago. And now there's like this wave of grief that comes back, or they meet a new partner that they're like, oh my God, this might be my person. And now they feel the presence of a parent who passed away, more so than they had just in these like momentous life occasions than they expected. So
I think that's really good advice. I guess it's hard because it's like, I would imagine her anxiety is like, it'll come at a moment when she like doesn't feel like she can get into that emotional state. And it's hard to like carve out your crying time.
Yeah.
But like, I think even if she took like 5 minutes when a moment where she's feeling something to like go and feel it privately or something or whatever she wants to do, or if she like did something to honor her dad at her wedding, maybe that would be like a great moment for her too.
And just knowing too that like anyone that you have at your wedding, I do imagine, like you're saying, the fear is like at the wedding, I'm going to just break down and not be able to pull it together. And it's going to ruin my wedding. Like, I think a lot of people are afraid of crying and tears because we've all had the experience of like, there's a phrase, uncontrollable crying, right? Like you're crying and you just can't get a hold of yourself. And I do get that fear of like, if that happens at my wedding, I've prepared, I've planned, I've spent like so many thousands of dollars to have this day. And now I've like been sucked into this place of like uncontrollable crying that I can't get myself out of. So I get that the idea of that happening is scary. But I don't imagine that that's going to take over the entire day, especially if you're like opening that valve now and letting some of that kind of come out in the weeks and months ahead of time. And also everyone who's there loves you and knows that you lost your dad and knows that this is something that might come up for you in this moment. And even if that does happen and you do kind of lose it a little bit, like then there's your dad. He's there. That's him there. Like the closest to a physical form that you can get. So even in the worst case scenario, I always say that crying is the joining of there's something spiritual about crying. It's like the physical representation of a non-physical force, like an emotional force. Like that's the only place that emotions come into the physical form. And so there's something about that spiritual, emotional connection coming into the physical form. So maybe if you want to look at it like that, in the worst case scenario, that you can't stop crying, then like there's your dad at your wedding. You know, like if you want to look at it as the worst case scenario, which I don't think is going to happen. I think you'll cry. If you cry for 10 minutes, you'll pull it together and everyone will realize, okay, this is what's happening. It's her dad and she's sad, and you'll move on and you'll have a great time. I don't even think it's going to be 10 minutes of crying. But like if it is, then your dad got to be at your wedding for 10 minutes.
So do you have an intention for when this comes up?
Yeah. So the intention that I wrote is, I will allow these new waves of grief and know that means he's near. Breathe in his light, breathe out the weight of longing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So use your breath too in that moment. You know, that's part of the intention is using your breath. It's something you can do in that moment. So breathing in his light, like that positive fueling energy, and then using that out breath to kind of release that longing back, you know, into the space. So that breath can help you kind of feel like, okay, it's here. I can use my breath to kind of, you know, use his presence, breathing him in with light and breathing out that longing. Thanks for writing in. I hope this helps.
Me too. All right, let's do some triggers.
All right. Dear Dr. Naomi and Jordana, I have a dilemma around my relationship with my mom as it pertains to my upcoming wedding. I recently got engaged after 10 years of dating in the New York City trenches. Wow. Congrats.
Yes.
It was, success story. It was such a fun moment for my fiance and me to FaceTime my parents and tell them the big news, which I asked them to keep to themselves until I could tell some more people. We'd be home for Thanksgiving the next week, and I couldn't wait to tell my extended family in person. The trouble is, my mom has never been the best at keeping things private, especially after she's had a drink or two. The next morning, I shared how I was particularly excited to tell my cousin. Then, just a few hours later, I received a congratulations text from that cousin. What the heck? My mom swears she thought she was texting someone else with the same name, but I was pretty upset. Just another random person that she was telling that had the same name. I had to scramble to make sure my cousin didn't share it with anyone else. Fast forward a month and I was deep into dress shopping. I shared one I particularly loved with my mom. I'd made it clear in the very first appointment that she wasn't to share any pictures of the dresses I was trying on. A few days later, she said something to the effect of, "This is so-and-so's favorite, but I'm going to ask so-and-so what she thinks later." I was furious. For the rest of my dress appointments, I would FaceTime my mom, but I refused to send any photos. She got nasty and told me that if I didn't send pictures of the dresses, she wouldn't be paying for half of the dress as she previously had agreed. Even though I doubled my budget because of her offer, I decided I'd take the financial hit if it meant there was no chance pictures of my dress would be floating around my hometown and extended family. A few months have passed and the situation just came up again. According to my mom, I was being vindictive and that I'm, quote, scary when I'm mad. She said I'd rather I yell at her than punish her, but I feel like adjusting my actions was the mature way to go since I can't control her actions. She's also said a few times, you showed it to some of your bridesmaids. Why can't I share the joy and excitement with my friends? She insists that I'm selfish. It's like she thinks this is our wedding. She still hasn't paid me for half the dress. I ended up choosing the one she'd already shared, and she says she has to think about it. I wouldn't have even looked at dresses in that price range if she hadn't offered. My question is, how triggered can I be that she can't keep anything I ask her to keep private? Was I being unreasonable by not sending any more dress pics? I now start every wedding related text with do not share, but I still don't trust that she won't blab. Any advice on how to deal with this for the last 6 months of my engagement would be much appreciated. A motor mouth mom.
This is very triggering. It's not even that triggering that she she told the cousin about the engagement or that she shared the picture with her friend. I think it was more like when she said she was upset about it, that she kind of like doubled down.
Yes, very invalidating.
Yes. And very much like using money which is something I really don't like, is like using the money as a way to try to like control her setting of boundaries, like as a revenge tactic, it seems like, when she's the one who violated her request. Like if she had said it to her, she had said, my friend likes this one, but my neighbor likes this other one. And then she said, Mom, I really didn't want you to send that to anyone else. You told me you wouldn't send it. She was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I just didn't even think about it. Like, you're totally right. I'm really sorry I did that. I hope like you can forgive me, whatever it is. Like, I think, all right, fine, it happens. The fact that it sounds like she has like a personality disorder a little bit.
Right. Well, the truth is, it leads her to believe that she's just going to keep doing it because she's not sorry. She doesn't think she did anything wrong. And she's not saying to her, don't send me stuff that you don't want me to share because I'm going to keep sharing it. Like that's, like there's no agreement here. So I could see why she's kind of like, what do I do moving forward? Because if I ask her not to share, there's no agreement. You say don't share, and she's not saying what you said. Yeah, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I won't do that again. You're saying don't share, and she's saying I'm allowed to share. Why can't I share? So you say, starting every text with do not share, she hasn't signed that contract.
Right. She hasn't agreed to that.
She hasn't agreed to that. You could keep writing do not share. She's not buying into it. She does think she should be allowed to share. If you send her things, she's going to continue to share because she thinks that she should be able to share.
And she thinks her money is entitled her to that privilege.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the issue with taking money from people who do not give for you, they give for them. She's giving you money so that she can control, it's for her. So she can show her friends, so she can be a part of it. So it can like validate her own ego in terms of it. And when you're not letting her do that with what she's spending the money on, she doesn't want to spend the money. So that's the issue with taking money from, like, in an ideal world, when someone gives you money, it's a gift because they want you to be happy. They want to make your life easier. That's not why it's being given in this way. Usually when it's like a parent giving a child money, it's so the child's life is enhanced or easier, or, they want to do something nice for them. That's not the case here.
It does bring up this overall issue of like parents and children and weddings, right? There's this feeling of like, whose wedding is it? Like or babies, like who's having the baby? Whose wedding is it? And I know it's like the kids having the baby and the kids getting married, but there is sort of this feeling, which is why this becomes an issue of like, this is a milestone in my life. This is something that I for the mother in some ways. I mean, we have to address it because there is a real, like an identity thing that goes on of like, this is something that is important to me that my child is now getting married. And it's like a moment in time for the mother. And this happens all the time. That's why these weddings become an issue where the parent, usually the mother, more so than the father, feels like this is a monumental time in
my life.
their, yes.
Right.
And that's a real feeling. So we have to kind of address what that is, how that is affecting the parents. It's almost like maybe this empty nest clinging, like there's a feeling, I do talk to in therapy a lot of parents of adult children. And there's a lot of fears that, let's take you, for example, right? Like we talked the other day of like, how am I going to mess up my children? And if I give them avocado too early, then they're going to grow up hating the color green. And what if they meet a guy with green eyes and he's the right guy and they'll never match with them because they'll reject every man that has green eyes and whatever thing you're going to do. Right. So then one day, the biggest fear in life, I think for a lot of people is that you won't find a partner, a sense of belonging, someone to take care of you. I think a lot of parents do have this fear that their kids are going to end up alone. That's a lot of the fears that when I talk to parents of adult children, there are these fears that my child will never find a partner. Right.
Like, that's why they're so annoying when they ask you who you're dating constantly.
Yes. And it's not just to be annoying. It's a genuine fear. And God willing, in 30 years, you'll have this feeling of like, I just want them to feel taken care of. And I want them to feel, the dating scene is hard. I want my girls to feel like they're loved and there's someone to be there for them. And maybe there is this, kind of instinctual drive to want grandchildren and to pass on your genetics and all that stuff. So I think we can't ignore the deeper issue here. Yes, we could talk about it. It's annoying that she's sending photos that you asked her not to send. The surface issue is, yes, this is very triggering. This is very annoying. She's not signing up to it, but why isn't she signing on to like, just stop sending the photos? It's not your wedding. It's not your dress. It's your daughter's wedding. It's your daughter's dress. Just be happy for her and show up. She feels like this is her celebration. She's raised her kids in a way that has allowed her daughter to find a partner. She's like done her job. And now her daughter is safe in the world or something like that.
Well, even if she said that, I'm sorry I did that. Here's why I did it. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of you. Honestly, I'm a little proud of me that you've done this. Like there's like a vulnerability in that. That's not really what she's getting though. She's getting like a little gaslit, which is annoying. And she's getting like someone who's I find myself triggered by her using the money of the promise of the dress. And I feel like that's like a very toxic parenting trait of like, you must be the way I want, or like put up with my shit, or I am going to like
withhold
this
support.
Yeah.
It really, financial is a form of support, emotional support and financial.
And it's abuse. Yeah. Financial abuse is there's emotional abuse, there's physical abuse, and there is like using money to control people.
Just for the record, I totally agree with you. I'm just bringing up this.
Right. No, I agree.
Why behind why parents feel so invested in holding up this prize of their kid's wedding, because to a lot of parents, it feels like I did something right. I got my kid. I have a kid that found a partner. And so therefore I was a good enough parent that I was able to get them settled with someone who's going to take care of them when I'm gone. I think that's kind of where a portion of this comes from. And that's why she's showing her friends. It's like a show and tell. It's like a show off thing. But I agree. If she was more vulnerable and said like, this makes me feel this way and I'm so proud of you. And I just want, I don't have that much else going on in my life that I'm proud of besides you, which would feel.
She might not care as much if she sent the pictures, if she said that.
Like, that's a very vulnerable thing to say. Like, I'm not really doing anything else in my life that makes me feel that I can be excited about or show off to my friends. And this is something that I feel really proud of. And, maybe she still would care. I get it. You don't you want your moment to be the reveal of your dress. It's like if half the people there have already seen it in some like mirror flash photo from
not fitted
from the dress store with like your hair a mess and no makeup. It's like, I get why you're annoyed. But more so than the image of the bad dress photo is the idea, like you said, that I
asked you to do this thing and you don't care. You just don't care what I want.
Yes.
So I think that part is quite triggering. I would give it like a 7.
Yeah.
Just the way she reacted to being confronted about the...
Like, I'm not paying for it, and then literally like just not paying for it.
And her saying I have to think about it is keeping you like engaged. That's like worse than that's almost worse than I'm not paying for it.
Yes.
Because I have to think about it is basically like, I'm not going to give you the money, but I still would like to hold it over you. Yes.
I want you to wonder if I'm going to give it to you or not.
And I want you to like work for I want you to beg me for it.
Yes. So I think I would do exactly what you're doing, which is take the hit. Don't take the money from her. Because I don't know what your dynamic is. If you want to come in and talk about it, we'd love to have you, because this sounds like you might need help going into the next phase of your life with this. Taking money from her sounds risky. I would try to avoid it if you can. But if you can afford to just not take the money for the dress, whether she calls you, I don't know what name, she sounds like she's name calling you a bit here, vindictive, scary when you're mad, like all these types of things. I would just not send her any more photos. She's not agreeing to not send the photos. So stop sending her photos. She's going to send them to people. Anything you don't want her telling people, don't tell her, because she is not saying, I promise I won't tell. She didn't give you the response of, I'm so sorry. You're right. I won't do that again. So she is going to do it again.
I also don't believe that she didn't realize she was texting your cousin and thought she was texting someone else. It doesn't sound like she's being honest there.
Yeah. So look, it's not as easy. It is hard to realize that you can't trust your mom. It's hard to realize that like she is being financially manipulative. Yeah, it's a tough thing, I think, when you get to be an adult. And a lot of times, when you're a little kid, you just think your parents are like,
know everything.
Oh my God, they're the best. They know everything. You can trust them. They're
looking out for you. They have your best interests.
Yeah. And then you start to realize after a while when your interests collide that maybe they're a little bit more selfish than you realize. And that's not an easy thing. So I feel for you, but this is a growth point for you to kind of stand your ground here. I'm sorry that you probably would have picked a cheaper dress. Sounds like you already picked this one. You're going to have to eat it, but I think it's going to be good for your mom to realize that there are boundaries here and that she can't manipulate you with money.
Send us a picture. We won't share it. We won't share it. I'd love to see it. All right, let's do our last one. This one is a voicemail. Let's roll the tape.
Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. I love the podcast. I listen every week. Thanks so much for what you do. I'm feeling triggered. I'm trying to figure out exactly why. So I thought maybe you could help me with this. So I'm going away on my honeymoon for 2.5 weeks. We have 2 corgis. They're pretty high energy, I will say that. My husband's family lives in the area. They have a big yard, but they declined to watch them, even for part of the time. So I'm feeling pretty guilty about boarding them for 2.5 weeks, but I think that's what we're going to end up doing. Not to mention it's a really high cost. That's what we're doing. And I was talking to my friend about it, and she also has a corgi, and she was like, oh my gosh, I would love to take them. I would love to help you out for at least part of the time. And I'm like, okay, great. So then I followed up a few days later. I'm like, hey, do you want to just take them for one weekend and then you can drop them off at the daycare center then? And she was like, oh, I have the name of a sitter, but if that doesn't work out, then I could maybe do it. But, I can't really commit. And I was just triggered by this because when she brought it up to me, she said she would do it. I'm already feeling really anxious about this, and I was hopeful that they would have a little reprieve from the boarding place. Yeah, then my friend just flaked on me and didn't acknowledge that she offered. And I'm just feeling kind of abandoned, I guess. And so just let me know if this is valid. I'm sorry this voicemail was long. I understand if you can't use it, but okay, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, this is annoying. I think sometimes people like the idea of being someone who would do their friend a favor more than they actually want to do the favor. The friend probably thought oh, I'll watch the thing, but she didn't think she would take her up on it. Thinks people do that too. I used to do that all the time with my friends when they just had babies. They'd be like, I'd be like, I'll come babysit your baby. And I knew they would never actually, I don't know anything about babies. I knew they would never actually ask me to come and watch their baby. But I liked the way it made me feel to offer.
Yes.
And I guess I would do it if they really asked me, but I don't really plan on doing it.
Yeah. Rookie mistake. I think you're right. In the moment, it felt good to be the person that was going to come in and save the day and do the thing. But when the reality of having two more dogs in addition to her own dog set in, I think she was like, oh gosh, this is too much. I can't do this.
Beware of an empty gesture offer.
Yeah. And look, I think it's fine that you took her up on it. And hopefully she will learn from this not to do that again. I don't think it was malicious. I think she just was loose-lipped.
And you texted her. She probably said it in the moment, thought you both didn't really want to, weren't really going to do, even you're I'll watch the babies when I come visit.
So it's so funny that you said that. And I was going to bring that up as this example because so just for context, I'm coming to stay and I decided usually I work when I come to stay with you. And I was I'm taking vacation. I'm going to take the whole time off. So I said to you, I'm good. If you want to tell your nanny to take the weekend off, I'm off. I can, watch the babies as a gesture. And I really would have done it. But then as it was getting closer, I was kind of thinking to myself, well, what if I want to have some friends come over? Cause I'm in New York, all my friends are in New York. And I'm thinking well, what if Teresa wants to come visit? Or what if this person wants to come? And I'm really on baby duty. So I've literally had this thought of this thing of I offered this thing. And if you take me up on it, this is going to be really hard. If you really tell your nanny, take off and I'm trying to be with both babies and have friends come visit. And this is the exact example of in the moment, I'm I want to spend so much time with my nieces. I just want to spend all the time. But then
you like the idea of that you're watching them for,
yeah.
I wouldn't, here's the thing. I know you've been offering, love that you offered. I would never do that to you. I would never, it's quite doing it is very hard. And there's also just so many little things. It's not just for I'm sure it's this with the corgis too, probably not as much, but I'm I would have to teach you how I do everything with two, especially with two, the tricks that I wouldn't do that to you. Even if you I know that you don't really know what it entails. Do you know what I mean? The dogs, I think I could see why the friend was great. My friend, has a corgi, knows what she's doing. They're kind of all just run around with each other.
But it is a perfect example of I could tell that you weren't going to do it by the text responses that I was getting. I knew you weren't really going to do it, but I did have that thought as it was getting closer of I know I put this offer out there and as it's happening, I'm this is going to be really hard. if this ends up happening, of me trying to like be on vacation while watching two twins that like I don't know anything about.
I was
like,
never going to let you do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to probably end up lowering my score for this triggering and realizing that like I put a gesture out there with the best of intentions in the moment of like wanting to help you, wanting for you to know how much like I love you and want to. It was almost a gesture of like, I wish I lived closer and like I could do this all the time. So I want to squeeze every second of quality time out of this. But in reality, it wasn't like practical. The dogs are a little bit different because they're dogs and they're not two living babies.
Yeah. And it's annoying that she did offer because she clearly didn't really mean it. And you're learning that she didn't really mean it. Sometimes people offer things and they don't really mean it. And that's irritating. But like, honestly, drop them off at the daycare center. They'll be around a lot of other dogs. It's like one of those, within the things I'm learning, the more responsibilities I have is that if you can afford to do it, obviously it's annoying to like have to, it's probably very expensive to drop your dog off for 2.5 weeks. And I totally understand the guilt, but like no one will perform the way someone you're paying to do something will perform.
They have each other too. Like they're not going to be totally alone. I get there is a guilt around like, you know, a boarding place and they're, you know, maybe they're used to sleeping in a bed in a house and it's going to feel a little bit different, but like, they're going to have each other. They're going to be okay.
And you're avoiding like your friend maybe doing something like in a way that you wouldn't want it done.
Yeah, you're going to tell them exactly what food they take, like, exactly how much they eat. Like,
and that's another reason I wouldn't have you like watch
because then you have to get mad if I like put a sticky eyebrows on their face and tell me not to. Like,
whereas
really
like
annoying.
if I'm paying, that's sort of like the reality of the situation is like if I'm paying someone to do something, I can get more particular about how I want it done.
Triggering an empty gesture is triggering. It is. It's annoying. Like, don't say it if you're not going to do it. I could see why you're annoyed.
And I agree. I think it's more triggering that she wasn't like, I'm really sorry. I know I said I would do it. I kind of feel like it would be like a little overwhelming to have the two dogs here now that I've thought about it anymore.
She kind of slinked out, which makes it a little more, instead of owning it, like I just kind of owned it. I mean, you didn't actually follow up. If you did follow up, I might have.
You didn't even have to, like, you could have gotten away with me thinking that you really wanted to do that for the whole weekend.
But like, it would have been a little bit better if she was like, you know what, you're right. I'm so sorry. In the moment, I thought that it would be great, but upon reflecting, I really just think I'd be so overwhelmed with all three of them. And I have this, and this. She kind of slinked out with like, here's the name of a sitter. If you can't, then let me know, which is her way of saying like offers off the table, basically.
Yeah, it's annoying. I will validate that. And it's more annoying that she didn't say that.
Yeah. I'll give it a 5.
I'll give it a 5 too. Believe it when you see it for all these things.
Yeah. I think we did it. I think we helped some people. Thank you guys for for writing in. We really couldn't be here without you. Love your emails. Lots of good stuff. Super relatable.
Yes.
Yeah, that's our time.
Great work today.